And with that, I want to really ask you to welcome our first speaker for the day, Johannes, coming from Vienna and introducing his game Festival Tycoon, which we are beyond excited to see. It's such a cool game, and we can really be proud that something like this is coming from Austria. So please, hands up for Johannes.
Thanks. Hello, thank you very much. Let me put my phone here, I need time. Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. That's wonderful to speak here, and it's wonderful to open this entire event today. My name is Johannes. I need to go back a little bit because we did a spontaneous parkour thing here with our slides. Let me see. Yeah, that's me. All right. Very brief introduction to me. I took this picture on Novarock 2 weeks ago, so I felt it was fitting to show it here. That's my other me look and outfit. Yeah, I'm a game developer. I'm from Vienna. Actually, I'm from Innsbruck, but I moved to Vienna. Not very international, but a little bit at least. I started making games when I was 10 years old in elementary school, and since then I'm always doing games next to school, basically. And I always did that. And then I moved to Vienna 5 years ago, approximately. And I started studying media informatics and visual computing at TU, which I am still doing in the 11th semester soon. Not very proud of that, but I don't care. And 2 years ago, approximately when the pandemic hit, I started becoming a solo developer. And I'm talking about that today. I don't know if you know Festival Tycoon. If you don't, here's the trailer again, very briefly, so we are all on the same page. That's the logo. That's the trailer.
Welcome to Festival Tycoon. With nothing but an empty plot and a few $1,000s, you must create the perfect weekend. Design the grounds, book the bands, sign sponsorship deals, and build a reputation as the world's greatest festival tycoon. Be a micromanager. Whether it's crowd control or tweaking the lineup, you'll need to plan things right down to the tiniest detail. And don't think you can relax once the festival starts. From babysitting the performers to picking up the trash, it's down to you to make sure everything runs perfectly. Oh, but wait, there's more. Since the game came out in early access, we've added workshop support, new buildings, bug fixes, Oktoberfest, sports grounds, extreme mode, new items, location editor, custom music, bigger maps, day tickets, beer, and loads more. Festival Tycoon is growing all the time. Check it out now.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. So that's what I did the last 2.5 years, approximately. And I want to start at the very beginning. This is how it looked in summer 2019. I'm taking you to a time where no one knew what COVID was. Wearing a mask in public was the weirdest thing you could do, and everyone was happy. And during that time, I felt like, all right, let's make a festival game. And the biggest question I always get is where the idea is coming from. And it's very simple to answer that because this is where the idea is coming from. On the left, this is the prototype, which a very early iteration of the game. And on the right, this is the map of the Novarock Festival from this year, but the idea is coming from the 2017 version. And when I was there, to me, it looked very much like a game. Pretty much, all right, someone had to build this in some 3D modeling software, why not make it interactive? This was my idea behind the entire thing. And so I went ahead and made it interactive. But in the very, very beginning, Festival Tycoon wasn't called Festival Tycoon, but side story. But in the very beginning, Festival Tycoon was actually a turn-based mobile app idea, very much focused on making money and on which locations you put your festivals and things like that. And only, I don't know, a year into having the idea and into planning, I figured, all right, why not make it for PC and properly and big? And so I made it properly and big. But yeah, that's where the idea is coming from. Very straightforward, actually. A principle which applies to everything or a lot of things I do in life, but very, very, very much to the game, is apply absolutely everywhere. wherever I could, I applied. I filed the forms. I had a lot of texts, press text, which I just copy-pasted into the forms. Don't tell them, but I didn't write it every time, and I'd suggest you don't do either. But I had a lot of texts, and then I filed basically everything I could. I applied for everywhere, for each prototype festival thing, and for every, I don't know, pitch competition and so on and so forth. And one of those pitch competitions was the Supertron live pitch, held in Vienna in November 2019. And I never in my life have pitched a game before. I actually didn't pitch anything before, and not a game. And I think all right, maybe I'm ahead, but yeah, this is how it looked when I filed this Supertron live pitch application, and this was the prototype I signed up with, and this is what it looked. Everything was made by me. The UI was very basic. The models were made in Magica Voxel, because I'm absolutely not an artist in terms of 3D modeling, so I had quite a hard time figuring out how this should look, and I kind of learned Unity with this project. So yeah, that's what it was. This is screenshots from my trailer I did at this time, and I did this pitch competition, and yeah, that's the slide I was looking for. I won the pitch competition, which is, I don't know, still it's not surprising because I know how they argued, but I'm still kind of proud of that, because it's just, I applied and I won. And they argued that they gave me the grand prize because they felt like the project has the potential of becoming something serious. And that was very encouraging, obviously. So I felt, all right, if they think so, why not make it serious? And that's what I did. I got serious. This is now early 2020, late 2019, early 2020. And at this time, no one knew about the pandemic. And I felt like, all right, let's make a festival game. But I am a solo person, and at this point, I wouldn't even say I was a solo developer. I had a hobby project and I was a student. So I knew very well that this would not work out without a team. And I went to the Vienna Game Dev meetup, which was held on a monthly base at this time, and you could do presentations there. And I was asked, because I won the Supertron live pitch, I was asked to do a presentation for my game. And I said, yeah, sure. And I used this talk I held there to basically look for a team. And on the right, in the GIFs, you can see how the game looked then. It was very, very basic. I started from scratch again, because I felt, all right, prototype, let's scrap that. This is how it looked. You couldn't do anything other than building a couple of buildings, and that's it. And in the lower left, there are the slides I used, basically. I just took a screenshot from them. And I was looking for artists and musicians, basically, because I could do project management and coding. That's what, I don't know, I felt like I'm capable of handling that, but I wasn't able to do especially the 3D art, because that's just something I know I'm not very good at, and it's an insane time drainer. So I figured I need someone for that, and I found Armin, who isn't here today, sadly, but he did 95% of all the art today in the game, of the 3D art, and we met very early on. And same for music. I'm a drummer, so I could potentially probably make some drum and bass tracks, I guess. I don't know. So, something very easy, caveman. But I can't do music in terms of producing every song, because it's just too time consuming in the end. And at this time, in early 2020, I figured, hey, why not make it with small Viennese bands, for example, and they are in my game, and I present them in my game, and everyone gets something out of it, because I get music, and they get into the game, and everyone's happy, and yeah. And then I figured that it would be a great idea to do this, until I realized that AKM and GEMA and all those things exist, and that this is something which requires legal stuff, and would probably fill a 40-hour position for 2 years just to handle the entire band stuff. So the easier solution was to look for musicians who created the music. And today, basically every song in this entire game is custom, uniquely made for Festival Tycoon. And it's, I think, 210 minutes of music made, which is quite a lot. Yeah, and it's made by 3 musicians. Yeah. First step in the serious development phase, basically, was to make a art style, to find an art style for the game. And the 0% of this is made by me. This is all made by Armin, the artist. But the mood board in the beginning he did were pretty awesome, I think. I really liked what I saw this time, and I still do. And we went with this, for example, the upper half, this, I don't know, I don't even know, Stonehenge. We call it Stonehenge theme, but it's obviously, yeah, kind of Stonehenge theme. This is still in the game, and it translated very well. And you can see on. You can't see on the next slide because I probably have hidden it accidentally. But you can see later in slides where you can see the AI how the musician translated. And one thing, for example, which was very hard for him to do is that we don't have arms in our agents. All our AI is just those blocks without any arms. And one thing Armin mentioned a lot of time is that making those models without the arms is very hard, because arms, the hands and arms, they deliver a lot of mood. And I mean, the rapper, for example, up here, the yellow one, and I think this soul singer, they are very. Their arms are very important for their gesture, for their looks, and yeah. So that was something we struggled in the beginning, or he struggled. I struggled with bugs and stuff like that, but he struggled with that. Yeah. So continuing, as I said, I applied absolutely everywhere I could. So I came into the Founders Lab by the Vienna Business Agency. Vienna Business Agency is a pretty awesome agency who helps startups to find a track and to fund stuff and so on for Viennese businesses. And they had this Founders Lab, which was a startup incubator basically. And I applied there and I got in there, and this was really nice because I learned a lot of the business related things needed. I went to a HTL before, and I knew that something taxes exist, but I had no idea how to do taxes. And I've heard about liquidity planning before, and yeah, that was nice, but I had absolutely no idea how to actually do it. And one thing which was very, very nice about this Founders Lab is that they prepare you very, very much for the funding application of their and all other funds there are in Austria. Yeah, and for example, this scenario planning I did here, this is 2.5 years old or something like that, and it's still pretty accurate. When making these slides, I was pretty impressed how close I came to the estimated case actually. So, yeah, but more on that later. But yeah, I did a lot of those things. I don't know, like awareness squares, and in the background, this is a business plan. I wrote an entire business plan for this project, which was nice to have a fundamental understanding of what you're actually doing in terms of money. Yeah, and then you can't do a talk, I guess, in this time of ours without mentioning the pandemic. And to be super honest, when the pandemic hit in, I don't know, March 2020, I guess, I did not say that in this way I say it now, but I think I am one of the few persons who actually profited a little bit out of this entire situation, because making a festival game in a year where every single festival in the entire world is cancelled is something pretty good, I would say. I was very, very much trying not to say this when it happened, because I was a bit afraid of a Twitter shitstorm. But yeah, and so Der Standard wrote an article about me because they approached me and asked if they can write about me. You know, I'm this guy studying and doing a game in his free time, and yeah, and out of the blue, an email from Der Standard arrives, and I'm like, all right, yeah, nice, let's do that. And this was a little bit a kickstart, because out of a sudden, not only Der Standard, but also NDR and WDR, for example, came to me and asked for radio interviews. And I, at this point at least, wasn't really a professional in the game development industry, but I understood that VDR and NDR morning shows aren't exactly the thing you're looking for in terms of marketing as an indie game developer, solo indie game developer. But yeah, it was nice, and obviously I did these interviews and they were a great experience. And one of them was actually was very journalistic in a way, how he asked questions to me, and it was quite critical. And afterwards I felt like, all right, did I actually sell anything? Was this good? But yeah, a lot of learning involved in this entire process. Yeah. So then this gave the entire project another little kickstart where I felt like, all right, now it's working, and now suddenly I made this festival game when there are all festivals cancelled, and this obviously was something which got a little bit of traction. And then I felt like, all right, let's make it even more serious in a way that I went into a proper production phase, I'd say. I don't know. First thing was finding money, because if you make a game, you need money, in case you didn't know. So I applied for funding at the, again, Vienna Business Agency. I made a GIF. This is an absolute pro tip. Always make GIFs of important things. So I made a GIF of applying there. I also made a GIF of hitting the button for the release on Steam and things like that. But yeah, I applied, and until this point, everything I applied for, I got into, and I got kinda, which was a pretty amazing feeling. And so I got that too. And this was the Creative Pioneer funding. This is a funding for 50,000 euros, and they pay you 60%, and you have to pay 40%. And the good thing is you can pay 40% by bringing in your work hours. So yeah, after all, if you do the maths, you will find out that the project size has to be at least 83,000 euros or something like that. So this was the size of the project in terms of money at this time. Just so you know, basically. Yeah, and in the background, the application, so this was probably a 60 to 80 hours, so like 2 weeks of writing stuff down and defining, and obviously you kind of have to know who you're addressing, and then you write certain things in a specific way, and so on and so forth. But it's a bit of work to do those applications, but if you think about how much money you get, then it's a pretty good hourly salary. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Next step in getting serious, as I had the money and founded a company, because you have to found a company, and I made ein Einzelunternehmen, no idea what it's in English, but I made a Steam page, and it got a little bit of traction in the beginning. As you can see, I think this is the first 2.5 months or something like that, and I got 500 wishlists, which was cool. Yeah, it didn't go viral, but it was nice, and I had not really any big comparison values there. I knew, all right, that was nice, but I also knew that this wasn't enough in the sense of making actually a big game out of it. So I did community building to get more wishlists and to get more people to know the game, but in the end to get more wishlists. And one thing, for example, I did with this community building was I'm doing play tests. This is my Discord server. And on the Discord server, I did play tests, so people could get a key to the game, and then they played through the game. And in order to make the community a little bit more involved into this entire process, I did build challenges where they could upload screenshots of their build, of their festival, and then the community could vote, and so on and so forth. This is one of the examples I did to just get a little bit more traction behind the game. And another thing, and this is something I would do again probably, is that in the beginning when I started this Discord server, I did Facebook advertising for it. And I got around 300 people on the Discord server in a week approximately. And that's something which I tried just because I was curious if it would work. basically. And I spent, I think, 130 euros or something like that, so not too much. But I was curious if this would work, and it worked in a way that the server was pretty quickly pretty full. And I felt like, all right, that's actually pretty nice, because if you come to a Discord server and there are already 300 people, it looks way better than there are 17. And I think this is something which helped quite a lot to grow this entire thing in at least quicker, but I think also it felt more serious. So that's something I would actually suggest, because I think the price is good enough to do it. Yeah. Next thing was that I took part in the NRW Green Virtual Indie Expo. This was part of DevCom in 2020, late 2020. And that was, DevCom is the developer conference at Gamescom, and it was all online. This was a virtual booth I got again from the Vienna Business Agency, because, I don't know, they kind of loved me. And so they gave me a lot of those pretty awesome things. And this was awesome, because on the one hand, I don't think that a single player ever visited my booth. The booth was completely useless, because it was this first online experience you had, or one of the first online experience you had of those events, and it was really not you could just go to YouTube and watch a trailer too, so that was pretty useless. But what was absolutely not useless was the entire developer conference side of things, as this was part of, where I don't know, had 3 days, and I don't know, each day with 20 or 25 meetings or something like that with other developers, and pretty much anyone I could get a meeting with. Again, apply everywhere, and this was the same for those meetings. And I think I spoke to 20,000 localization agencies, because there are quite a lot of them, and to, I don't know, another 15,000 musicians, which all were interesting to meet, but we didn't fit in we didn't need anything from each other, or could deliver anything to each other, because we were looking for other things. But it was still pretty interesting to talk to all those people and to get to know them, and so on and so forth. And in those many meetings, there were a couple of awesome ones too, which provided some opportunity in some sort of way, because one of them, for example, was one of those 3 major labels, for example, and I'm making a music game here, and I was in the need of music. And I can't tell you who they were, because they sent me an NDA and then ghosted me. But another one was a toy producer company, pretty huge one, who makes brick toys you can stick together and things like that. Yeah, and they were all pretty interested in the project. And this is what I learned of those huge companies, talking to them, that they are pretty interested, and they always send pretty important people to those meetings. And at some point they realize, all right, I'm a guy making this game. I have freelancers helping me with music and art, and I have funding of 50,000 euros, which for me is this is impressive for me, and I'm very proud of that. But they were looking for something which brought them 50,000 euros a day in revenue. And once they realized that this is not gonna happen, they were pretty quickly gone. And this happened to quite a lot of them. I don't know, there was, for example, a big DJ is making a game, I don't know exactly, like making games with music involved, and I talked to them, and it was interesting, and it was nice meeting them. But as soon as they realized that this is not the size they were looking for, they're fair enough. I don't blame them to be gone. I mean, some of them were a bit rude, some of them were nice, but yeah. But that's life, I guess. Yeah, so that's the big fishes. And now I know everyone, every time someone huge approaches me, I'm aware that this is nice talking to them, and it's awesome to meeting those people, but I understand that this is not gonna work. Yeah. Then I did, as I mentioned before, those Steam playtests. I did quite a lot of them. This was a new Steam feature at the time, and they gave me, and I guess a lot of other people, but I got beta access to their feature on their page. So I was, I don't know, 3 months early or something like that, and I obviously used that for Reddit marketing, because Reddit marketing is something you have to be careful. But if you can say, hey, I do a Steam playtest, want to try that, then it's not marketing on Reddit, because, I don't know, that's how Reddit works. But I did that, and I got a lot of feedback out of that, and this is something really good, I think, that I did, because a lot of how the game is today and on how the mechanics work and things like that are coming from those playtests. I think I did 4 or 5 of them. And how this works is that you can sign up on Steam, and then you can give them random people, you can give access to the game, and then they have a form afterwards, or I linked a form afterwards, and they just write what they think. And one very important thing here, I think, and this is what this feature is good at, is that you can say, all right, from Friday noon until Sunday 10 p.m., you can do this playtest, you can play the game, and afterwards you can't. And this means that at Sunday 10 p.m., latest, you have all feedback you would ever get, or maybe Monday morning, I don't know. But you will not get feedback 2 weeks later for something you asked 2 weeks before and already made decisions on it, and it's completely useless. So this is one of the things why this feature is pretty awesome. And what I learned from making those play tests, and this is probably the biggest thing in this entire game from a game design perspective still to this day, is that players are very different to each other. Long story short, in Festival Tycoon you have the build part, where you build the festival, and then you have the live part, where the festival is executed. And I made it that way because I felt, all right, it just does not make sense to have it in this typical Tycoon setting where you build something in real time and then visitors on the festival use it immediately and so on. This is just not how festivals work, and it would just not make sense, I think. And so I split this up, but this meant that you, on the one hand, did not have this immediate feedback you know from Tycoon games usually, right? If you play something down in build mode, there are not immediate visitors going there and being happy about it or being sad about it or something like that, but you have to kind of guess what's gonna work. And this was very, very, very hard for people to, or for me to tell people. And the other thing is that in the live part, you have the situation that some of the players wanted to just sit down and relax and wait until the festival is over. Some of the players were like, all right, I want to do something there. And they were bored basically because there wasn't enough to do. And some of them didn't really get, but I don't know, yeah, not every game is for everyone. But balancing this amount of things to do in the live part, like not stressing out players, but on the other hand, not having players bored because it's just nothing to do, is to this day probably the hardest thing in this entire game. And I managed it. For example, there are workers, so you can hire workers on your festivals, so players get a little bit of their tasks taken away from them, but it's still, yeah, not for everyone, which is okay, but that's one thing I learned from those playtests, for example, which is very individual for this game, I guess. Yeah, as I said before, I got funding money, and with great money comes great responsibility. And so I felt like, all right, I have 2,500 euros lying around for a marketing agency. This was in the calculation. So I found a marketing agency, and I knew I didn't want a publisher because I felt like, all right, I have money, I don't need any money, and publishers are taking away money, or they giving you, but taking it back afterwards. And I felt like I didn't really need a publisher because everything worked out until now. So what would a publisher give me? And I didn't find a reason to hire one, so I worked with Future Friends. Future Friends is a marketing agency making game marketing, and they're pretty awesome. And I hired them for the Steam Festival in February 2021. And we did a first huge, the official announcement of Festival Tycoon we did together. And afterwards, they reached out to me and asked, hey, do you want to work together on a revenue share base and things like that? And I obviously said yes, because why not? And then then Festival Tycoon was next to Omno and Exo 1 with the third game in their portfolio, and we worked together, and we still work together until this day. And this is a pretty awesome relationship, I think, we built there. Yeah. But first, there was this February 2021 Steam Festival, and it was finally time for a new logo, which was quite important. I did a lot of drop shadows in the old logos, and every time an artist saw that, they were going crazy. But I liked it, so I didn't care. But yeah, we made this new. Oh, I had this new logo made. And we made I had a trailer made. This was a professional trailer because, again, I had budget from the funding, and I hired a company in Mexico to make the trailer, which was new to me. Working with someone in Mexico, I was like, all right, maybe I'm sending money and never getting anything, but I trusted them, and they delivered a nice announcement trailer. And this is the Steam chart of this period. So we got first wish lists. Again, not incredible numbers, but nice. In this 2-month period or something like that, it was 2,500 approximately. Not exactly, but approximately, which was nice. My first wish lists, actually, I got the first spike in this flatness of 2 wish lists a day. Yeah, and the one thing which I'm still kind of proud to this day, I think, is that this article, this is from Rock Paper Shotgun, and they mentioned Festival Tycoon, this demo version we put live there. They mentioned Festival Tycoon as one of the 16 or something like that best demos from the Steam Festival, which is pretty awesome, I think, and this is something I'm still kind of proud of. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. And yeah, so time went on and I was in full production phase. You know, I knew, all right, there were features to implement. I knew what would be in the game. I knew what's to do. There was this big Excel sheet, for example, with just features. And I did not have a publisher where I need to deliver milestones to or something like that. So it was quite relaxed, I think. But still, I had tasks to work off, basically. That's what I did during this next period of time. And same for artists and art and music artists. We had our lists and we worked it off. And then I started Twitch streaming. This is a screenshot from one of my Twitch streams. And that was fun, I guess, and it was actually quite successful. I streamed for around 3 months, and I made, I don't know, 100 followers approximately on my Twitch channel, which I guess is good. Again, not going viral, but okay. And I had like 4 or 5 regular viewers and things like that, so that was nice. The downside of Twitch streaming as a game developer, and I only streamed development. The downside, at least for me, is that I did not get anything done. I used this in Festival Tycoon. There are those activity buildings, like, I don't know, this archery range, and this coconut shy, Dosenwerfen, it's in German, things like that. And they had to be implemented so that the AI actually did something there. And I used those buildings on the streams because I felt like, all right, viewers can relate to that. You can see something. It's not super technical, but every time I finished a building on a stream, I got back to it and had like to redo 60% of it. So it was really more for me, and maybe it's just me that I didn't, because I don't know, it was quite entertaining, and I was quite, I don't know, I like standing on stages, and this is basically a virtual stage, right? Yeah, so I stopped that, and I stopped it too because it became summer, and I did streaming in the evening, and it's nicer to be at Donauinsel than to be in front of your PC. So yeah, that's another reason why I stopped. But I felt like it didn't give me the reward in terms of community building or marketing or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, then the I don't know, I call it the road to early access, like this from May, June to September, when the game released into early access started. And a couple of things happened there. For example, we did another big influencer outreach together with Future Friends. They did all the press work for that and all the key distribution things and everything related to that, and which was nice because a couple of streamers played the game. Then I was at last year's Game Dev Days, still virtual, I think. Yeah, it was entirely virtual on a Discord server. And today I posted in the Festival Tycoon channel from last year that you can come to this talk, because I found it. But I was also nominated for the Saga Award, which unfortunately I didn't win. But I don't blame anyone, because Silicon Dream won, and I think Silicon Dream won, and it was a pretty nice game. Then the biggest wishlist spike so far, I would never have thought of that, but so far the biggest wishlist spike came from the Austrian Game Sales weekend, it was called, which was a weekend there was on Steam, on the front page, there was a sales event which had like, I don't know, approximately 50 to 70 games made in Austria on this page. And this meant that the Steam front page, which is huge, was split up into 50 games approximately, and every other Steam festival is like split up into 500 to 1,000 games, I don't know. And you got on the page and you saw immediately which games are there. You didn't even have to scroll to see 80% of them, I guess. So that was pretty awesome, and because it gave me a lot of visibility. And I'll show you charts afterwards, by the way. And then I took part in my first ever real-life convention, which was Level Up last year in Salzburg, and I had a lot of marketing money still from the business agency, because I had those positions written down for actual marketing stuff like roll-up banners and those cards and things like that. And I spent all of it, and it was really nice to have actual physical things. And I had 3 PCs there, and that was awesome. Yeah. So this is basically road to early access, and in behind the scenes, I just made sure that the game is polished and ready to be released. No new features, big features at least, just bug fixing and polishing, pretty boring. And then early access came around, and now prepare for numbers, facts, no fiction. So does this have? Oh yeah. This is the Steam Festival in 2021, in February, which was the first wishlist thing where I got a little bit of attention. This was the Austria sale, which was by far the biggest, and this over there, this was the build-up for the early access. So in total, when releasing into early access, I had 9,000 wishlists, which, was good. Could have been better, but was good, I guess. I was happy. And this is the first month of early access, where I sold approximately 1,500 units. This is a rough number because there is a supporter DLC, for example, which is not included here, and I don't remember exactly if it includes Linux version 2, because the game is only for Windows. But I still sell around 2 to 3 copies of Linux and Mac OS versions, which are not refunded a month. I don't know why, but I'll take it. Not included in here, but doesn't make too much of a difference. And basically every single sale happened in week 1, because afterwards it was just a little bit. And same for the entire early access units, which are 3,000 approximately. Nearly everything happened here, and I think you can see the updates we did here. I'll talk about them in a second, but those are updates and streams and those things. Yes, exactly. So updates. This is the early access roadmap. I did 7 big updates during the early access, which was from September, or very, very late September, until May, very early May 2022. So roughly half a year of early access. And it was always planned to not do more, because on the one hand, we felt like it was not necessary. And on the other hand, it was a little, I was not done, but I was getting exhausted by the project, because at some point you gotta release it. But we did updates. There was the Oktoberfest update, and now in hindsight I have no idea why we did that, but we did it. We felt like a lot of this. The reason why we did it at this point was that Tycoon games usually have a lot of German players, and this game does so too, and so a lot of people mentioned that, and I think this got in my head, and so I felt like, all right, let's do it. I don't know. It's a bit random, I think, in terms of fitting the theme, but on the other hand, nice. Now, if you build an Oktoberfest building, people in Tracht are arriving at your festival. Next thing I did was the workshop update. And the workshop update, this was something I added because I wanted to make a game which supports workshop. This was not something I felt like was super necessary for the community to have, but I just wanted to do it, basically. And it also added local music loading, so you could, like in good old GTA San Andreas, for example, you can have a folder You can drop your music in, and then you can play your own bands on your festivals, which is nice because there is no other way of adding actual, real existing music. So if you want to have AC/DC on your festivals, that's the way to go. And it's like a little, it's a nice, I don't know. I wasn't able to add actual AC/DC, so I did that basically. Yeah. Patrol routes and achievements was the next big update. Achievements, I'm not very an achievement-heavy player, but I felt a lot of people are, so I added them. And I had a lot of fun making those achievements because there are a lot of Easter eggs and funny things in there, and the names of the achievements. That was actually quite a lot of fun making. And patrol routes was basically 100% based on community feedback that people were tired of sending their workers around all the time. So I felt like, all right, let's make a route so they can send them in a circle. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I did. And band coordinators, basically the same. People were tired of clicking on arriving bands. When a band arrives on your festival, you have to welcome them, and then you have to be nice to them because you're the manager and bands are picky. And they did that for you because I felt like, all right, people should have the option to not have to do something in play mode. Yeah, trash containers, the exact same thing. People were complaining about too much trash on the festival, so I provided trash containers so the festival isn't dirty anymore. Yeah, pretty easy. Props was an update where you could do a lot of decorations, and we added an insane amount of assets there. This was very art heavy. French and Spanish localization, which was unfortunately a little bit late delivered to me, so I had to make a nice update out of it. I used it, obviously everything I did for this project I always used for marketing reasons, so having Spanish and French late was a good thing to argue another marketing push, so we made an update. And then there was the Extreme Sports update, which just added more buildings. This is something, for example, I did a lot in the streams, making those buildings, because if someone plays volleyball, that's pretty straightforward to implement in this case. Yeah, exactly. The biggest, by far, the biggest problem I had when starting or when releasing into early access was the tutorial. And there's this pretty nice website, I linked it down here, where you can get information on your reviews on Steam. And as you can see, negative reviews had the word tutorial mentioned by far the most. And you can also see positive reviews had the word the developer mentioned by far the most. Just saying. But yeah, I felt like, all right, the tutorial is something which is really, it wasn't good, because I made a huge mistake that I did not start making the tutorial from the absolute beginning. The tutorial in this game is very set on top in some sort of way, and that's a big issue. And yeah, I tackled it by, for example, here you can see that those are videos, for example. So you get a step-by-step guide, and then I made a video for each step, which was a week of work or something like that, because cutting all those videos, making sure they look nice, and all those things, a lot of work. But I felt like it is super necessary, because I got a lot of negative reviews for the tutorial, and I also, another thing, I replied to nearly every negative review by telling them, all right, thanks for the feedback, blah blah blah, if you didn't like it, I'm sad, but I take it, and yeah, whatever, things like that. So I was caring a lot. And I added another thing, which is inspired by the good old Microsoft Clippy, this guy. And I had a big Excel sheet where all the feedback of people saying, hey, I did not get why this happened, is basically in there, and with numbers next to it on how often it happened. And single thing in this entire game where this happened, I added one of those inlays, basically, which says all right, you can do this or not. You can disable him, because if you're a bit more experienced, he might be very annoying. But yeah, this was I don't know, a little bit of a rescue mission to add those, I think. But it turned out pretty well. Now I get a lot of Steam reviews saying that the tutorial is one of the best they've ever played. But still, on the other hand, there are still very reviews mentioning the bad tutorial. So it's very split now, but at least it's not the big, I don't know, negative review producer anymore. Yeah, so that's basically all what I did in early access. And then the full release came around 1.5 months ago, or nearly 2 months ago. And again, numbers. So, I sold in the first week 1,500 copies again. A little bit more expensive this time because I had a little issue with Steam not applying the first 8 hours of discount, which was a pain. But that meant I got more sales on Epic because I published it on Epic too, because I got the chance to do so, and I felt like, all right, why not just do it? It was a little bit of a pain to implement because Epic is not as easy as you would imagine it could be, but that was nice. And so I now have way more copies than I would have ever thought on Epic. But yeah, again, wishlist chart over here and how it translated, and you can very clearly see that the first week is basically by far the most important, and everything which comes afterwards, doesn't have any impact. There's a Steam festival coming up where we give quite a lot of discounts, so this might be another big spike, but I don't know. But the thing which I am by far the most proud of, to be honest, is the reviews. If you take a look over here, they are basically all positive, which is something I'm very proud of. And a lot of those reviews over here especially mention that the game improved during early access. So that's basically, that's the nice thing for me. I don't care too much about the sales, to be honest, but that's super awesome. Yeah, short appendix. I don't know if you're running out of time, but I think so. Yeah, short appendix. Everything I did not, graveyard of missing features, everything I wanted to but did not implement over here. Yeah, awesome. What would you make better next time? Obviously more marketing, as everyone always says. A tutorial from the beginning, as already mentioned. Less but deeper features. There are a lot of features in the game which don't really make any sense to be in there, but they are there. They actually don't do anything, but they exist, which is a bit of a time waste in terms of making them, but also in terms of keeping up with them and not making sure they are not buggy. And another thing which isn't on the slide is audio. This game is insanely audio heavy and could have been a shining star in terms of audio development, but it's absolutely not. Not that the music is not good. The music is very, very good, I think, and I'm happy with the music. But the audio implementation, like, I don't know, there could be some 3D sound stuff and headphones encouraged things. I don't know. It's not. It's just audio is there. It works, but nothing more. This is the number of time it took me to make this game. Pretty accurate because I started from the beginning. Does not include the 1,600 hours of art. This is over the course of 2.5 years. So, I don't know. I think I did a little bit of overtime. Thank you very much. Thank you.